Ever since this tail beast first appeared in Boruto's 4th opening, it has remained one of the biggest mysteries in the entire franchise. Not only does it indicate that a new tail beast will be created, but also that Boruto himself is somehow involved. Now this might seem like a stretch at first, but it does make sense. You see, the mechanic by which Boruto could create such an entity actually stems from Momoshiki Otsutsuki. This all goes back to chapter 8, where Momoshiki displayed the ability to create various animals using his nature-based elements. The first one being multiple dogs purely made from wood release, a giant bird made from fire release, and then he had a monkey that was formed with a combination of both fire and earth release. Now the reason why the nature element of these animals are very significant in this case is because the beast shown in opening 4 is clearly made from multiple elements, those being earth and ice release. This simply means that if Boruto does go on to create this entity, he must also possess the ability to use both of these nature elements, which luckily for him he might actually be able to do. You see, this once again goes back to Momoshiki's ability to use multiple nature transformations, even the more obscure ones such as ice release. This was shown in the novels when he was able to form an absolute zero blizzard in his fight versus Naruto and Sasuke, which wasn't included in the movie or anime for some reason. Nonetheless, it is an ability he does possess, which simply means that Boruto himself will likely possess this ability at some point in the series. This of course stems from the fact that Boruto possesses Momoshiki's karma seal, which has now transformed his own genetic data into that of Momoshiki's. So Boruto is currently 82% Momoshiki and 18% Boruto Otsutsuki, as explained in chapter 67. Now this simply means that similar to Kawaki later manifested Ishiki's abilities to the point where he doesn't even need to activate the karma seal to access them, the same would apply to Boruto as well. Now, as I explained in my video about Momoshiki's return, even though he's able to manifest the Borushiki state, thus outputting more power than Boruto could, the body itself wasn't fully Otsutsuki, which means that he still couldn't access his Otsutsuki abilities. Which is why whenever Momoshiki appears on screen, he's always using Boruto's abilities instead of his own. Now, we have seen Momoshiki possess Boruto's body post him becoming complete Otsutsuki as seen in chapter 79. The issue is that Boruto suppressed him after he freed Kawaki, so he didn't get a chance to really prove whether or not he could use his powers. While Boruto likely didn't use any of Momoshiki's abilities in his fight versus Kawaki because he was reluctant to use Momoshiki's powers, as opposed to Kawaki who fully embraced Ishiki's. All of this might change into Blue Vortex since it does seem as if Boruto is having issues controlling his karma seal, which is likely why he doesn't use it. So Momoshiki might have a stronger hold over Boruto's body at this point in time, especially since their thoughts began to merge prior to the time skip. Now I'm not gonna go over that again, you can just go watch this video after we're finished here. What I want to focus on is Boruto being able to create his own elemental beast and other applications of ice release itself. By the way, this video was requested by you guys. Some of you wanted to know how Boruto would apply this ability if he does receive it, because I did mention it in my prior videos. Now of course this is something I wanted to cover as well, because I've always been of the opinion that variety is a good thing. So characters should have different movesets and they shouldn't share abilities, at least not to the extent that we've seen so far. A prime example of this would be Boruto, Sarada, and Mitsuki all using a variant of Chidori, whether that be purple lightning, white lightning, yellow lightning, or blue lightning. Now there's nothing wrong with it per se, but for me personally, which is kinda redundant in a sense, but I'd rather that not be the case, which is why I'm a fan of Boruto gaining the ability to use ice release. This would set him apart from everyone else since you don't have that many ice users running around in the Naruto universe. So that's why I'm a fan of Boruto gaining this specific ability. With that said, one of the most broken applications of ice release we've seen so far would be Haku's crystal ice mirrors. This ability debuted in chapter 24 of Naruto's original manga, and at that point there weren't that many Kekkei in the Naruto universe, especially when it came to nature transformations. Now the gist of this ability is that Haku is able to form several large mirrors out of ice that surrounds the intended target, and then by entering one of these mirrors, Haku's reflection would appear in all of them. Now the crazy part of this ability is that it allows Haku to travel between the mirrors at near instantaneous speeds, which of course is somewhere between light speed and actual instantaneous movement. That is why it seems as if he's in all of the mirrors at the same time, because he's moving between them at such an insane speed. This of course allows him to overwhelm his targets with attacks moving at similar levels of speed, making it impossible for them to dodge. Now, I know that some have argued that this doesn't make sense because if Haku was moving at light speed, how was Kid Naruto able to react and grab him? Well, that's because he isn't always moving at light speed through his mirrors, he just has the capability to do so. It's also established that it takes a lot of enough chakra to perform the technique itself, so he can't keep it up indefinitely. So Naruto dodging or reacting to Haku later on in the fight isn't really a contradiction to the light speed statement. Now the reason why this is important to note is because this movement is a feature of the ability itself, since Haku isn't able to approach anywhere near these speeds outside of this environment. So in the hands of someone like Boruto or Momoshiki, this ability would obviously be way stronger, so a QB amped kid Naruto isn't breaking out of one of his mirrors just by flexing his chakra. That's not possible. Neither would Boruto run low on chakra as quickly as Haku did. With that said, I think this jutsu could be useful to Boruto based on who it's being used against and how it's used. You see, in order to use combined nature transformations, a ninja must create and release two different chakra natures simultaneously to combine them into a new one. Now, while any ninja can learn to transform their chakra nature and even transform it into different natures consecutively, it is impossible for them to transform two at the same time, regardless of talent or effort. Only those who possess the genetic ability of those Kekai Genkai have a chakra system capable of double nature transformation, which isn't a problem for Boruto since he has Momoshiki. Even so, since the ability itself would still be composed of chakra, someone who has the ability to absorb ninjutsu would still be able to negate it. Now, a good counter to this would be how one chooses to form the ability itself, since you are able to control the natural elements using their chakra-based counterparts. This was shown by Hashirama controlling or enhancing already existing plant life, Kakashi's mud wall, or even Kirin itself, which is Sasuke using lightning release to tame natural lightning. What Boruto could do in this case is use the natural moisture in the air itself to form his ice release instead. This was actually shown by a character named Kaio in the Kakashi Hiden novels. She also possessed the ability to use ice release, but only through the moisture that existed in the air itself for some reason. It is somewhat similar to how Sasuke was able to use ice release by quickly cooling his water release with wind release, as seen in the novels as well. The main difference is that Kaio doesn't need to create her own water. She can just take it from the air itself, similar to how Katara from the last Airbender could just bend the moisture from the air as well and use it to form large droplets of water. This by nature would make whatever Boruto creates using his ice release a nature element instead of being chakra based. So similar to how Boruto couldn't absorb Kote's claw marks since it also consisted of physical material, which is something the karma can't absorb, the same would likely apply to this type of ice transformation since it would also consist of something the karma can't absorb, which is natural based elements. That said, Kawaki would still be able to shrink it as long as he's able to perceive it. So again, it all comes down to who he's fighting and how he's using the ability. By the way, Kaio from the novels is way more overpowered than I gave her credit for. Not only is she able to create ice release from the air itself, but she's also able to instantly freeze people to death. It's almost like she can cool the water content in someone's body to the point where it's frozen, which can be done by touching them, or she can do it remotely as seen in the novels. She's also able to easily take out ninjas like Kakashi, who by the way is stated to be stronger than the version of himself that fought Obito and Madara. And she did this by simply planting an ice particle on him, which she was able to remotely activate, thus preventing him from molding chakra. Now, it wasn't explained how she was able to do this with an ice particle, but one would assume that it likely created some blockage in his chakra network by entering his system, and it never goes away until she removes it. So you can see how broken this ability is. By the way, I almost forgot about this one, but Haku was also able to freeze the water particles in the air itself as well, and used it to create a shield around himself and Zabuza in part 1. So even if you wanted to argue that the novels aren't canon to the manga, you know, blah 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 blah, you can just use this as an example. Now this simply means that Boruto could use this ability in this way as well, especially since he has a natural affinity for water and wind release. So it doesn't really need Momoshiki in order to use the ability in this way, since Sasuke said that he taught Boruto everything he knew, which would include how to use ice release without having the Kekai Genkai. Even so, it would be more interesting if Momoshiki was involved, since that's how we would get the ice monsters seen in Boruto Opening 4. Though I do wonder what would be the explanation for why the entity has that tail. It does look like multiple tails wrapped up together, or it could just be one large tail, who knows. Now obviously the first thing that comes to mind is a tailed beast, because my brain is infected with Naruto's lore, of course. So this could be influenced by the portion of Kurama's chakra Boruto should possess, similar to Himawari, which I covered in this video. Or it could simply be that this is a beast that has a tail, just like other tailed beasts that are not tailed beasts, if you get what I mean. But yeah, the concept is cool, so let me know your thoughts on it down below. And if you guys want an in-depth breakdown on why Boruto doesn't have a multiverse, you can check out the video linked in the end cards. With that said guys, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.